Welcome to the first edition of Grassroots. Sponsored by Barenbrug, proud to have supported agriculture in Britain for 30 years. Grassroots is here to keep you up to date with the latest trends for livestock farmers, advice on what the wider industry is doing, why they're planting what, helping you work smarter, not harder, while increasing your profitability. In this edition, we look at a number of topical issues, why the industry is talking about Italian ryegrass as the alternative to maize and whole crops as forage. The weather was the big factor last year, so we talked to WeatherQuest's Jim Bacon on trends which might affect what you plant. And Phil Steen at Lackham Agricultural College on what advantages Italian ryegrass brings him. With a poor season for forage crops like maize, wheat and barley just past, and therefore rising cost of fodder right now, many livestock farmers are reconsidering their options for 2013. Choosing the right crop for grazing, which delivers high yield, high protein and defence against changing weather conditions, is becoming ever more critical. We're going to discover why many growers are now turning to Italian ryegrass for grazing and silage. James Ingalls is at Barenbrug UK. James, what have farmers been telling you?
What they're telling me is they've had 2 very difficult years with their maize. They haven't had the predicted yields from them. They have had some real problems with the quality of the feed that they've had, and they're remembering that Italian ryegrass grows in temperate zones. Italian ryegrass will germinate at 4 or 5 degrees. As we know, maize is a tropical crop. It doesn't start germinating until 10 degrees, which is often April, May time, and the ground's empty. We ought to be looking at alternatives to see whether we can be producing forage in that period of time. Whole crop similar. Yes, you can get this in the ground in March, April, because it will germinate at lower temperatures, but you need to let it bulk up into July, August before you can actually cut it for silage. Your Italian ryegrass, you can put it in a similar time to the whole crop, but 6 weeks later you can be taking a grazing from it, and a good quality grazing at that.
And the dry matter per hectare and the percentage of protein content is well known, isn't it? It does outstrip the other forms of crop.
Your typical maize silage will be probably as little as 10 or 11% protein. Your whole crop might be 12 at best, but your Italian ryegrass will be 14 to 16% protein, and a tonne of dry matter of protein is worth over £15 a tonne in the dry matter. That's quite a sum.
Why should a livestock farmer change to growing Italian ryegrass this year?
I'm not saying they all should change. What I'm saying is they need to look at it from a cost basis, that it's going to be less outlay for them to put things in the spring. It's going to give them a higher protein feed, 4 to 6% potentially more protein in the clamp, and certainly that on a grazed. It also enables them to have 4 to 8 crops during the year, rather than one big bulk crop coming in August, September. It alleviates the inconsistency that we've had the last 2 or 3 years, and gives lots of options and lots of bites of the cherry.
Phil Steen is farm manager at Lackham Agricultural College in Wiltshire. I asked him why he grows Italian ryegrass.
It's easier to ration the cows when you've got a more consistent quality product, and it's easier feeding the cows because the product is pretty much similar all the way through the clamp. It gives me a consistent product as long as I can harvest it at the right time. I mean, I can't guarantee whether if the weather's going to be right, but that's in the lap of the gods really. But I mean, any silage time is hit and miss with the weather. But as far as I'm concerned, if we're cutting it every 4 to 6 weeks, then we should get a fairly good product, and we've got to feed the crop to get that, obviously, because it's a fast-growing grass.
So have you noticed real cost benefits in what you're doing?
Absolutely. I think so anyway. The benefits of it are that I know I'm going to get a clamp full of silage as long as we harvest it at the right time and it doesn't go to head too quickly. then we know the D value and the quality is going to be right, really.
Thank you to Phil Steen and James Ingalls. Last year's poorer quality maize and whole crop was partly because of the weather. Italian ryegrass, of course, will grow at 4 or 5 degrees compared to the 22 or so that maize favours. So what do the weather experts say? Jim Bacon is Managing Director of the Farmers Weather Service, WeatherQuest.
We are aware of a more frequent impact of water coming in large volumes over relatively short intervals. So in other words, whereas before you might have gone a week and a half or 2 weeks between a really severe rainfall event, you might have found that in this last winter just gone that we've had a succession of these events perhaps every week, perhaps twice a week. So the fields are still waterlogged from one rainfall event when the next one falls. So this is a manifestation of how you could imagine it being.
What do we do this year? Where do we go? Just what are the things we have to consider?
Well, 2 things you need to have in the back of your mind. One is that you're going into the start of this year with soils at field capacity, pretty much. What that means is waterlogged. It also means that if the trend is towards tougher summers in terms of drier, then you would expect that to change around about April time, when the evaporation rates become higher. So whatever water you've got in the surface layers are then evaporated away into the air and transported away. So you build up a deficit of moisture in the ground. And any summer rainfall you then get, we know from indications about the way the climate might be expected to change in the future, that there's a high probability that a lot of that will come from short duration heavy rainfall bursts.
Barenbrug UK is one of the largest forage seed producers, the powerhouse behind brands such as High D, the Italian ryegrass mix, and that's the one containing Barmega and Barmultra 2, which are outstripping the industry right now for higher spring growth and value for money. MD Paul Johnson's strategy is clear: to add value, assisting farmers to cut costs and raise profitability by providing them with top quality seed.
Well, Barenbrug product tends to be well tried and tested. We look for innovation from our own breeding programs that can bring us certain aspects that are very crucial to growing in the UK climates. The majority of the varieties are actually bred in the UK, so their history and their genetics are UK based. And very often their production also takes place in the UK. We tend to find that the varieties survive and produce more of a yield because of that.
And I guess one of the strengths of Barenbrug UK is your emphasis on research and development.
Indeed, quite a headache at times, but a good proportion of our time and staff spend time on research and breeding varieties. And the 4 sites that we run across the UK give us very important information to make our varieties the success they are.
You do have field advisors, don't you, who can offer technical advice at the front end?
Yes, a good team with many years' experience, both of practical field growing, but also looking at technical areas such as balanced rations and feeding, etc., of cattle, sheep and dairy.
Paul Johnson of Barenbrug UK. Now for the Grassroots competition. For a chance to win, just go to the Barenbrug website where you downloaded this radio programme and type in the answer to this question. Name one of Barenbrug's superb Italian ryegrass varieties that make up the High D mixture. Good luck. That's it from Grassroots right now. We hope you've enjoyed the programme and found it useful. If there are any topics you'd like covered in future editions, then please let us know. And if this edition has raised any issues you want to know more about, then just go to www.barenbrug.co.uk. We'll be back with another edition of Grassroots later in the year. Until then, goodbye.